You set an alarm for 6 a.m. to go for a run, but when it goes off, you hit snooze. You know exactly how many calories are in the donut in the break room, but you eat it anyway. We all live with this friction. Why does such a wide gap exist between knowing better and doing better? To find an answer, we have to look back at how the ancient Greeks tackled this puzzle of human behavior. They approached morality with the same rigid logic they used to build their temples. Socrates argued that wrongdoing is essentially a math error. He believed no one does evil willingly. If you truly understood what was good, you would pursue it. To him, every failure of character was actually a failure of education. For centuries, Western society rested on this specific premise. Bad behavior is a symptom of ignorance, and the cure is simply more information. In the year 386, a 31-year-old professor of rhetoric named Augustine looked at that Greek model and concluded it was false. He used his own life as evidence. In his autobiography, The Confessions, he describes a seemingly minor event from his youth, stealing pears from a neighbor's tree. The strange thing about the crime was the lack of motive. He wasn't hungry, the pears weren't even particularly good, and he ended up throwing them to the pigs. He realized he stole them precisely because it was forbidden. The act of defiance itself was what he actually wanted. This petty theft dismantled the Greek system. It proved the existence of a mind that desires its own rebellion. Knowledge doesn't solve the problem if the mind is actually hungry for the wrong thing. Augustine proposed a new diagnosis. The problem isn't intelligence, it's a mind divided against itself. He called this original sin. The human will arrives damaged, naturally weighted toward immediate pleasures instead of lasting ones. This structural damage means the will cannot repair itself. Under this framework, willpower is insufficient to reach the goals the mind clearly sees. Self-help is a dead end because the self is exactly what is broken. Augustine felt this paralysis personally. In 386, he sat in a garden in Milan, weeping under a fig tree, because he felt physically unable to change his life. Intellectually, he was convinced he should live a life of ascetic devotion, a life of severe self-discipline and the avoidance of all indulgence. But his will was tied to a decade of old habits that he couldn't simply think his way out of. He heard a child's voice chanting, "Take up and read," from across a wall. He opened a book of Paul's epistles at random, and the words he read provided a resolution that his own effort never could. He concluded that the power to act had to come from outside the self. This led to his famous, frustrating prayer, "Give what you command, and command what you will." This shifted the entire goal of the moral life. The cure for human failure was no longer logic or education, it was the reception of an external force called grace. A British monk named Pelagius heard Augustine's prayer and was horrified. He argued God would never command humans to do something they weren't capable of doing themselves. Pelagius believed we are born with a will that is perfectly capable of choosing good. To him, doing wrong is a failure of effort, not a condition of our nature. In 431, the Council of Ephesus sided with Augustine. They declared Pelagius a heretic, someone whose beliefs are officially rejected by the Church, and Augustine's broken will became the standard. But Augustine's victory led to a dark logical conclusion. If we cannot fix ourselves, we are entirely dependent on God to choose to fix us. This chart shows the result of that logic: predestination. If grace is a gift given to some and withheld from others, then your final destination is decided before you are even born. Your effort has no impact on the outcome. This conclusion was so unsettling it troubled even Augustine's supporters. For centuries, councils tried to find a middle ground, but they could never quite shake the weight of his logic. This 1600-year-old debate still defines how we see ourselves. When you succeed, is that really your doing? And when you fail, is it just a lack of effort, or the proof of a nature you can't actually control?